Hello and welcome to this episode of Truths from the Virtual Man Shed. Today, really chuffed to have this guy along with us, Adam Brittan, who works for Amey, and I'll let him tell you a bit more about that himself. Adam, thanks so much for engaging and coming along. So, who are you and what do you do?
Yeah, you're welcome, Chris. Thanks for having me. And as we're in Men's Health Month, is quite a timely meeting. So yeah, pleased to be here. So yeah, just a quick introduction of myself. I'm Adam Brittan. I'm the group head of resourcing, talent and L&D for Amey. Amey are a very large UK services company. We've got around 16,000 employees. So just a very snapshot for those that don't know Amey. We do a lot of work in the highway sector. We do a lot of work in the railways. We do a lot of work in public sector. So we provide hard facilities management and soft facilities management to prisons and schools, and a number of defence contracts as well. As well as that, we've got a very niche kind of engineering consulting side that operate a lot in rail as well as waste treatment plants. So, I mean, the reason I'm giving you that kind of overview, and it's a very whistle-stop one, we are a very kind of complex and certainly diverse organisation. So we employ people from all backgrounds, and obviously, we're talking about men's health here. We have a very high male population because of the work we do. So yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
It's really interesting to see the breadth of actually the areas that your blokes are in. So they're in office environments, they're in cabinets on sites, I guess. They're in probably very secured and locked down secure locations if they're doing contracting.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
you've got a broad range of issues across such a broad range of guys, haven't you?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, when we're talking about COVID and our post-COVID responses, we have a mix of individuals that are not only to work from home, albeit we've gone in and out of office if and when those offices were COVID secure, but by and large, most of our white-collar population are working in offices now. But when we were working as a HR function and with our HSEQ colleagues in our business units on our post-COVID responses, we had to be mindful that a large portion of our population have to go to work as well. So, these are frontline workers, refuse collectors, refuse sorters, people working on highways and specific contracts. So it's not, it's about managing that balance of those people that are working from home and those people that are working, at the coalface really whilst we're in a pandemic. So it's thrown up lots of things.
Yeah, they've got those really different challenges. We talked a little bit about this yesterday, didn't we? So in terms of, I guess, sort of more office-based and exec type people, you guys are pretty much stuck either working in your bedroom or your home office if you're lucky enough to have one in front of screens all day. And I know from talking to colleagues and I'm currently working with on contract who are in similar sort of roles, the exhaustion actually of having call after call after call, they say is even harder.
Yeah, absolutely, and it is something that we're monitoring, we're working on, because we signpost our employees to a lot of support. We have a wellbeing network within Amey that I think our wellbeing ambassador numbers stood at over 200 the last count. So we do signpost everybody, not just men, anybody to pages where they can get help. We have mental health first aiders. We have a lot of help there, but some of that stuff really is driven by our kind of digital platforms now and online because we can't meet in person. So the focus now, I guess, really is really driving our people that are working at home and that can't go into an office environment to be able to still network and communicate. Yesterday we talked around the meetings, things that you touched on there, and I think it's not just our organisation, but most organisations around the world are realising that we are very reliant on Teams or Zoom. And those meetings, we're trying to kind of understand the balance now is, did we have this many meetings when we were all in an office environment? I think the answer is probably not. But because we don't have that interaction anymore, we're probably talking more on here as a way of, being next to somebody and talking to somebody face to face, which, if you were sat at your desk in the office, you'd be having a coffee and talking all day. So it's what we're trying to do is kind of strike that balance between being back-to-back meetings, because it is happening, particularly in manager level. We're finding that in some cases we could be on Teams meetings or Zoom meetings from 9 AM to 5 PM. Now, traditionally, you know, you would get out of bed, you would go to work, you do your commutes, your car, you walk, you run, whatever it is. I think a lot of organisations now, where we're kind of looking at the well-being of our employees, is that some people are getting out of bed at 7 o'clock and are sat in front of their laptop with their breakfast at 20 past 7.
Yeah, I did it this morning. Right. Yeah, got my porridge and my tea and just sat straight down.
Exactly. So, you know, that's not a healthy way of where employees understand the balance and the expectation. There is not an expectation to be at your laptop for 7 in the morning unless you want to. You know, some people have different working patterns. Now, on the flip side, it's actually worked in the benefit of some people. I myself am an early starter. I don't mind getting up at 7 o'clock and working, but we're a flexible working company. So, you know, if people do start at 7 o'clock and they want to finish at 4, then that's absolutely fine. You know, and I think we have that balance quite well in our organisation, because we always were a flexible working environment.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
But you know, that only applies really to the people that can do that. You know, if you've got people that work out on sites, etc., they are time constrained. You know, they have to clock in and the like. So there's a very fine balance. But I think you know, the stuff that we're doing internally around well-being, and you know, as I said to you yesterday, we have a fantastic well-being team led out of our HSEQ division that really kind of monitor this stuff and are pulling stats together. Where, you know, we work with a lot of social enterprises, you know, similar to yourself really, I suppose, whereby, you know, prostate cancer checks. We work with companies such as, I mean, I think it's Baggy Trousers UK, all of these organisations to highlight stuff and to make sure that, you know, our personnel and our employees have access and are signposted to anything that can help with well-being, mental health, and overall health, really, because, you know, whilst they're working from home, they're still working, and so they're still, you know, under a duty of care for us.
And I think that's probably what I want to flag up, you know, as one of the truths from this episode of Truths in the Shed, and we talked about this yesterday. You know, what a fantastic opportunity for the individual to have all that support available, to have an organisation that cares, supports there, and the truth is, put your hand up and use that support. You know, it's
absolutely
within your control, your authority to do it. And you know, I worked in the energy industry before, as I said, and I'll give them a shout out actually, because National Grid, as much as I had challenges when they worked there, they've got fantastic sort of services and phone lines and stuff as well that are available. What about, you've got a lot of, I suppose, essential workers that are having to go out. You know, they don't really have a choice. Their work almost kind of continues as normal, with the addition of what I can imagine would be quite anxiety causing extra PPE and restrictions and protocols and stuff. What kind of sense do you have of kind of the workforce out there that can't hide behind?
So everything that we do well-being wise is open to every single employee. So, you know, if frontline workers are not able to access, you know, our online material, we make it available as toolbox talks. All of our people managers, our account directors, our site managers, all are trained and have access to all of our materials. So, you know, we're very, very, you know, want to ensure that everybody has access. So toolbox talks are the way to do that. It's the only way really for people that are on site and don't necessarily have access to the online portals.
Yeah.
You know, we have Stays, which is open to all. I mean, I think a number of companies do this, whereby we encourage people to take time out of their day and really focus on themselves. But like I said yesterday, for us, well-being and looking after your health is a 24/7 activity. It's not about one Wednesday of a month, you know. So, we also encourage people to go to certain sites. So, you know, since we're talking about men's health this month, I mean, I know that the well-being team at Amey have so much planned. I mean, they put out things like, you know, we know that men between the ages of 18 and 44 are less likely to go and see a doctor than women. Okay, known stat. We have that on our well-being sites, and we direct people and encourage them really to kind of go and get a health check. Over the age of 40, you can go and get a free full health check at the NHS. A bit more difficult at the moment with conditions, but it's information that people aren't aware of. And you know, the biggest thing is the stats around suicide in young men, or men under the age of 50 anyway, is quite exponential. So there's a difference between highlighting and scaremongering. It's more around making awareness, because I think we touched on this excuse me, yesterday when we spoke. We're an aging organisation and an aging male organisation. We are changing that. I mean, we do a lot of work in diversity and inclusion, which is another topic, but you know, I've seen a change certainly in my own organisation and in industry really, that it used to be a taboo subject, or, you know, we know that men don't talk well. They know that, you know, they rely on their partners more for kind of emotional intelligence, let's say, and support.
Yeah.
But I can honestly say, across our organisation, with the work that we're doing and the messaging that we're driving out and the signposting, you know, some of what you might call our dinosaur people managers that have been on sites, you know, for years. They've come up through industry. They've dug. They've had spades in ground.
They've seen it all. Yeah,
people, yeah. I mean, they're not so much stuck in their ways as they might have been 5-10 years ago, let's say. And I think that's all because of, you know, signposting, educating, things like this. You know, it makes people think, and it's like, you know what, I went through that, or, you know what, I need to look out for my son, or my employees and things like that. So for me, it's a slow and gradual change, but it's certainly happening. You know, mental health awareness, if we look back to, you know, all the stuff that was done last year and the year before around mental
change and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and it's growing momentum, you know, and I think organisations, certainly of Amey's size and stature, we have a duty to kind of drive that forward, and we are, which I'm really pleased to be part of.
I think yesterday I compared it to the kind of the messaging around physical health, isn't it? Over all the years, there's always been adverts around healthily and exercising. The advert with the little jelly bean people, I think, remember the yellow background or something. Well, you know, that should be the same for mental well-being, and I think it is getting there. You're absolutely right. I think with organisations that are practically cures. The challenge
you don't look after your physical health just once a month or once a year.
It's an ongoing game, isn't it?
You do it all the time. So your mental health is equally as important.
And I think we expect to have physical challenges at some point. I don't think anyone wakes up at the start of the year and says, "Oh, I'll be completely physically healthy this year." You know, we're always expecting something might happen. You know, you could have an injury or a disease or something. Same expectation around our mental health. And just teaching people to sort of pay a bit more attention to it in the same way we do their physical health. Andrew, in the last episode or one of the previous episodes, Andrew Beaumont was talking about that duty of care that you mentioned, and I think that's another truth to flag up, isn't it? That actually, if any other HR managers or sort of wellbeing managers in other organisations are watching, you know, how much have you done? How much are your guys at home supported? You know, Andrew's worried about people being left to it. And I can understand that happening. I think you could easily understand that happening.
Yeah, and I mean, I really hope that, you know, I can't speak for other organisations, but I know that at Amey, there's nobody left hanging. I mean, we really are driving it into, you know, because it comes from the education piece and the training we give our managers. And I know, you know, I manage and lead quite a large division, and a big team of that, actually, if I were to emphasise the resourcing function, are a team that sit in the Liverpool office. Now, it's a big office. Our Amey Shared Services office in Liverpool is huge. It's where all our transactional activity happens. So, you know, these people and the demographics I'm talking about are used to being together in close community, talking on the phone, talking to each other. So, you know, we, certainly my people managers I can vouch for, actively have, you know, daily calls with their teams, certainly weekly meetings. They have fun, you know, whereas the quizzes and everything that everybody was doing at the start of the pandemic, it's fizzled out a lot. And I can understand what your previous guest was talking about, but I think you've got to reignite that now, because, okay, we're in a lockdown until 2nd of December, we hope, but you've got to keep the momentum. You can't just, you know, be reactive to things like this. Because, you know, reactive well-being is not really, it's just a tick in the box, isn't it? We were doing well-being activity long before pandemic. It's just heightened now.
Yeah, I think it's a brilliant sort of point. My partner and I at home, for example, we used to do the Thursday night virtual today's pub quiz. Don't know if you've ever heard of it. It's a very popular pub quiz on YouTube.
Yeah.
And that was quite religious every Thursday night. And then last few weeks we just kind of lost the momentum again and stuff. And actually now we're looking for other things to do. Especially the gym's closed.
So I mean, the gym's being closed is something that's come up, you know, on our team calls, and I think, you know, there's a lot more ways you can add activity to your day than going to the gym. You know, I know it's easy to say, but that's a real pointer for me. I mean, my partner told me recently, Adam, you've been sat in that room for the whole day, yesterday and today. I didn't even realise, you know. So that's me not checking in on myself, and you know, it's just, it was rainy. It wasn't very nice weather, so I wasn't going to do anything fantastic. But I think I should have probably took myself out for a little bit of fresh air in the garden, perhaps. So, you know, whilst we can signpost everybody, you also need to be aware of your own self and what you're doing, is my message. Because, you know, if you don't look after yourself, nobody's going to for you, are they? So
that's it, and you can't look after your teams, and that self-awareness bit's so important because it's not something we're used to keeping an eye on necessarily, our mental well-being, and a lot of men in particular aren't aware of what sort of responses they're having to things and stuff. And
and one of the other, I mean, just going back to what you're saying about people working from home, I mean, it is a scary fact, and because we're such a large organisation with people from all different backgrounds, I mean, one of the areas I've asked certainly our early careers team to check in on is our graduate population. Okay, so you know, we're fortunate in the fact that, you know, I've got space in my house that I can get away, I can have a little kind of officey area, as have most people, you know, of a certain level in an organisation. But you know, our graduates are sitting on their beds in their parents' houses, you know, so we really are kind of trying to do a check-in on everybody across the organisation that has different circumstances. And, you know, everybody is employing large numbers of graduates or apprenticeships or interns or anything like that. This is a massive, massive culture shock for them. You know, they really are kind of adapting to a completely new way of working, because some of them only had 3 days in the office before we went into a pandemic and lockdown. So
like, how do you learn how to do a career at that point, you know?
Yeah, so, you know, all of our business units and our early careers team are encouraging that we check in with that population to make sure that they're okay.
I think I was talking to an ex-housemate of mine yesterday, actually, who's he's from Romania, and his partner's from Romania as well. And they said they're working 50, 70-hour weeks. She gets up and just sits in the bed all day and works, and they're really, really, really busy. They're getting hammered with the work. And they're getting to the stage now where they're having to remind themselves of what we're talking about, and then to kind of say no and manage his expectations and things. So he says his partner wakes up and just sits in the bed working all day, working hard. But again, it's like you say, it's not necessarily the healthiest approach. So I think to sort of wrap this up, if that's okay.
Sure.
It's you know, the fantastic content. I think that's probably one of the longest man shed videos I've ever done. And thank you so much. I think there's a lot of great valuable stuff in there that will appeal to not just individuals but organisations as well. So I can't thank you enough.
Welcome.
And just to flag up some of those points, you know, again for organisations and individuals, the truth is there's a lot of support out there in a lot of those organisations, and you're authorised to use that and you know, make use of that support while you're in lockdown, especially if you're struggling. Organisations that maybe haven't considered it enough. How are your employees doing? Where are they at? You know, it's really the kind of the last thing for me, from what I heard. If you want to add anything else, please do. Is around just that checking in with yourself.
Yeah, keep a check of yourself and check in on your friends and your colleagues, and you know, we'll all get through this at some point. It's not forever.
Well, yeah, that's nice. This too will pass. So, you know, Adam, first of all, fantastic. Thank you so much for joining me. Brilliant to hear the work that Amy's doing. I think that kind of environment is one of the most sort of productive environments for people actually getting on and doing well. So thanks again. I'll share this with you, and you can share it with all your colleagues. And I'll send you some stuff beforehand so that you can sort of advertise it as well.
Perfect. All right, happy to help. Thanks, Chris.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Adam. All the best.
Take care. Yes.
Look, you disappeared. Look at that.